Today we're interviewing Daniel and Travis from Pixel Sky Animations. They're a team of dronepreneurs based here in Vancouver, British Columbia, who specialize in drone light shows.
There's a tremendous amount of planning that goes into the shows, and the Dragon Boat Festival approached us and said, we want to do a drone show this year.
Does a cold call work for something like this? Today we're interviewing Daniel and Travis from Pixel Sky Animations. They're a team of dronepreneurs based here in Vancouver, British Columbia, who specialize in drone light shows. That's right. Instead of literally setting money on fire for just 10 minutes of fireworks, Pixel Sky will build custom 3D light shows synchronized to music using hundreds, if not thousands of drones. Wishful thinking maybe, but in a symphony of light and sound in a sustainable and reusable manner. Let's chat with Dan and Travis today about their story about getting into this space, what it was like to get to the point of their first drone show, celebrate their successes, and hopefully get an idea of what's on the horizon for drone light shows and what the future may hold. I'm Ian, this is Finn. We've got Daniel and Travis here. Morning, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Morning.
So, how the heck did you guys end up together?
Oh my goodness.
Let's start with easy stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we started working together a long time ago, basically when we both moved to Vancouver, and I don't know if we want to say where, but
Yeah, we don't have to.
yeah, but we did start working together, and it was almost immediately a friendship, and just love working together. So
Yeah. You guys are just a backstory. So Pixel Sky now, how long have you guys been in operation here in Vancouver?
we first started thinking about drones, at least two years ago.
Yeah.
We originally saw the Super Bowl that Lady Gaga did in 2017, and was just blown away.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that was my point. Like, I think I've been talking to you guys for almost 1 to 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I've always been impressed, like, your dynamic, right? You guys are friends first, business second, right? And that's really cool and really impressive. You guys can both answer this individually or together, or kind of blur it in. What does a normal workday look like?
Yeah.
Is this your full-time gig? Is this something that, like, on the side of the table? Like, what does a normal day for guys running a drone light show company look like?
yeah, we're solely focused on this. We do have other stuff on the go, but this is our focus right now, and will be. It takes everything. There's a tremendous amount of planning that goes into the shows and site surveys, as you know. And
I've definitely got questions about that later.
yeah.
So like what's is it, I guess, like, when we get into the drone space, right, one of the things I often see is people are they're coming from something else, right? And they're looking at, like, I'm so sick of this grind, or I'm so sick of that, and then the reality is that in some circumstances in the drone space, you do end up, like, say you want to get away from the office. Well, there's still a lot more office work still. Like what is your inbox kind of look like in the morning mentally, or more hypothetically, not like how many spam emails do you get in the morning?
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah, I'd say day to day, there's a lot of emails, a lot of meetings, different stakeholders, different folks, ironing out details of different shows, whether that's, the show right around the corner or the one a few months from now.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that type of the paperwork and stuff. Like you said, you get stuck in the office a fair amount. And then, of course, that's not to mention fleet maintenance of, hundreds or thousands of drones. That adds up some time as well. So
a little bit of tinkering and printing and wrenching and programming.
Yeah, like we're actually going to do a big test today.
Okay.
Out in Agassiz. Just over 400 drones.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's not a small amount of drones.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty.
So getting back into, you said you've been talking or thinking about drones right after Lady Gaga, right? So what experiences did you have going into this drone space? Like getting into this, what was probably your foundational experience or knowledge that you used to leverage to do this?
Well, when I was super young, well, like 18 or whatever, but I went for a discovery flight in a little Cessna 172 and was immediately hooked, and I ended up getting my private pilot license later on when I could afford it. No longer current.
Uh-oh. Finn can fix that.
Yeah.
I can.
We might have to talk after this.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been interested in the technology, the aviation industry. I mean, drones are cool. It's wild. Like during testing, we've had drones collide with each other and they recover and they're perfectly fine. Like you don't see that with helicopters. No offense.
Nope.
But they're an amazing technology. It's super cool.
What so colliding? Like what has been the hardest part of getting just into the space and getting this off the ground? Pardon the pun.
Yeah, it's a lot more capital required. It's a lot more money required to start a show than one might think.
Mm-hmm.
But then beyond that, obviously, getting help with the regulations and Transport Canada is a big thing. We didn't expect that like the cities would be so involved in terms of like safety, and like we knew that it's got to be safe, but we did not think that they'd be all over it in terms of how much policing you'd need, and you'd also have to pay for that. There's a lot of challenges with getting into it.
So it's been easy to say it's a learning experience constantly, realistically, and it's constantly changing.
Yeah, it is constantly changing. That is for sure.
Yeah. We'll probably save this one for later, but you mentioned Transport Canada, your perspective on the process of getting approved to do this. What has your experience been? Have there been overly good, like neutral? Has there been feedback that things that have been challenges that still are unresolved, or how has it been? Because like you came to us not really in the drone space,
mm-hmm.
but you guys were, I gotta say, like some of the most switched on. Like Travis, your SFOC application, like honestly, I don't think I ever even charged you guys. Like you didn't really need help, right? Like it was, I'm here, I'll help you guys, and if you need help, I'll help you. But like your framework and everything was already there when it came to that stuff.
Yeah.
So how much Googling versus like everything out there that there is, because it's just a sea of resources out there, right?
Yeah.
And how much did that help?
I mean, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. You guys at Coastal Drones were super helpful, and
I was gonna say the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to like puff us or you guys either. Like I mean it. Like we see a huge spectrum of company operation manuals and everything, and an SFOC is no joke, and we'll get a little more into it. But it is a lot of work. Like that's why the minimum standard is 30 business days to get it out the door.
Yeah.
Right. And that's after you've submitted everything. It's not just okay, we'll coach you through this.
Yeah.
And they're not coaches. They're not consultants.
No.
Right? So
no, Transport Canada takes their airspace pretty seriously, regardless of them just being drones.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
You're mixing with everything, and like you said, when you've got 400 or 500 drones in the air at once, that's a hazard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would say like working with Transport Canada has for the most part been positive. They've been, although not necessarily consultants in that sense, they definitely have offered advice and some guidance when we've hit certain junctures. luckily with the those 30-day SFOCs, there is a process that's kind of in place now that has simplified that a little bit for us.
I would argue you guys might have helped build a framework too.
It did feel like things were very much changing as we were getting to learn the ropes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, luckily things have been heading in the right direction, I would say, on most fronts, which is more than you can often say.
I often hear about companies that do really complex things like that inertia at the start and getting, I'm really terrible for mixing analogies, like getting the wheel spinning or something, right? But my thought process is going towards, I always hear of anecdotes of the leash getting longer as things go smoothly.
Yeah.
Right. And as things get more complicated and the envelope gets expanded, right? It's always a start small, but think big.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the case. We have a great relationship with, shout out to Jason Rural.
Finn, you're posturing like you've got a question.
I was going to say, we've been talking about what these light shows look like. Why don't we show an example?
Yeah, let's talk one through.
Let's take a look at one.
Let's do it.
We got to hook them visually too, right? It's not just an audio show. All right, so I was actually got sound.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah. We did a little sound effect in the audio track when that drum hit.
Now, is this footage from the actual show or a test?
This looks like it's from just our test location.
Okay.
Yeah. But this would have been the show that we flew getting ready for Chilliwack Canada Day.
Right. And I was there for this one. So we do have, when we do the edit, you're going to see some behind the scenes as well and the setup of the process. And it's all good.
Yeah.
But this was, how many people were in attendance? Like tens of thousands, I think. It was packed.
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said it was a lot. It was the biggest crowd they've had.
Too much, I think.
For that. Yeah, it was more than they expected, but...
well, considering that Chilliwack's like 100,000 people, so probably 20, 30 in the fairgrounds could be possible.
Yeah. But yeah, they said, bring it on. They loved it.
So it is related to the drone show, but like filming this stuff. Mm-hmm. How hard is this? Like shooting in the dark, shooting pixels of light with cameras.
Yeah, there's a few challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to capture colors and, without things being totally washed out.
Yeah, and also just being aware of each other because we have, 3 cameras in the air.
Yeah.
Coordinating that as well. But
does it interfere at all with the drones? Having like a Mavic or something in the air?
Generally not. Just if you're in certain environments, I would say if you're holding that Mavic controller, in the wrong place, you're going to start getting some interference warnings.
Yeah.
But we've never had it, actually have any noticeable impact.
Well, as long as you're the one flying it and it's not some random person.
That's the thing. As long as you're like
just
expecting
cruising right through the center of the show.
Yeah, you're expecting the warning at least.
Speaking of some random person filming your drones, here's some behind the scenes footage for me.
Here's some dingus with a Mini 1 from 2019, 2020. The Mini 1 did not like the transmission system, you guys.
No,
not at all. I'm literally right underneath the drone, and I'm at like 2 of 10 for signal strength. It would go up and just freeze and lose signal, and because the Mini 1 is a Wi-Fi camera, so it's and your guys' system is Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
right?
we're blasting a whole lot of Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, so and this was cleaning up after the show, but
people were flooding out there.
Yeah, so this was the Chilliwack show. What was how did that go? Like, I guess because that's the one we have the most footage about. Like, that was, like we said, 20, 30,000 probably one of the biggest Chilliwack shows ever. Like, Chilliwack's not a small city, but it's a small city relative.
Yeah.
How did it go? Like, we were talking about crowds kind of like being one challenge. I know that the cops are kind of running around scrambling and shoving people around too, so...
Yeah, you were on the ground there with us, Ian, so you got a pretty good look at some of the challenges with trying to manage crowds and having, fun, shiny toys sitting on the ground and attracting people over, but maybe you don't want those people too close for yours and their benefit.
Well, could you imagine, like, so fireworks exclusion zone, no one messes with it, right? You don't have people coming up and be like, oh, are you running the 6-inch mortar or the 5-inch mortar, or oh, how much is your load charge or whatever? Like, oh, what kind of fusing are you using?
That's exactly it.
Can I see your pipe?
Yeah. Can I look down the barrel?
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen.
No.
You don't mess with fireworks.
Yeah.
Because they will literally rip you apart.
Yeah.
And 500 drones, they look like toys.
Yeah.
Right. So it people walk up to it thinking, oh, you guys are just, like, I could buy this for a pickup truck, right, or something. Yeah. So, and they just, So what I saw from my perspective, technically everything looked smooth and seamless, right? Like it didn't look like you guys were running around sweating with that. But then, of course, your exclusion zone started to get encroached upon, and the cops weren't really, like, they had to come in, right? They weren't. I don't think they really were at the start. They had security, and people were there. Of course, there were probably some belligerent drunks there as well. So
maybe a little of that,
I guess that goes to my next question. How difficult was it to get insurance for this?
Insurance is if you're willing to pay.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is, right? You pay to play.
It's crazy. It's like $5,000 a month.
A month. Wow. Like standard, like commercial UAV is like $5 a year with liability and CGL.
Yeah, it's pretty rowdy. Hopefully that'll come down a lot.
Yeah.
But
this is just like, we've never insured this before. We don't know what to charge you kind of risk, or?
Exactly. Yeah. This is too new. And we're just going to assume the worst.
Yeah.
That's that cost needs to come down. It's pretty crazy.
Did you have to hunt pretty far to get someone to underwrite, or was it?
Yeah, we went to a few different places and ended up with this broker that found an insurance company out of the UK.
Okay.
So
it seems like all the high risk stuff comes out of the UK. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Aviation's the same, right?
Take on them.
Yeah. Old money.
So yeah. But we can go back to your last question about like the challenges and policing, and it is something that I often think about, like with the fireworks, where you never see. I've never been close to a fireworks setup unless I'm like working the show with them.
Yeah.
But with drones, it seems to be a different scenario, and securing the area is quite a challenge. It's hard to relay to people or the crowd that the show is going to be here, and nobody can be here. Like this is not, you cannot be under the show whatsoever.
Right.
Like if we go up 200 feet, everybody needs to be back 200 feet in every direction. And that's not something that's intuitive. So that is I'd say one of the biggest challenges that we have is just making sure that everything's super, super safe.
It probably goes to this too then. Where's the best place to see the drone light show? Because this was something I heard shouted a lot to people. It's like, it's not going to look good here, right? Like you're going to be doing this. You're going to be straight up and break your neck.
Yeah, there's it's like a moth to a flame type of analogy, but the flame doesn't look pretty from right there,
Just going to get burnt.
It's a bunch of pretty lights in the sky still, but you're not really going to see the picture, the design that our animator designer works extremely hard to put out. Is it
when you plan the show, your perspective in the we should talk more about the software and the planning side, but is it straight on? Do you factor in like an upward facing view, or?
Yeah, typically like based on where the client is thinking that the base of the viewing audience is going to be, we will typically sort of cater the show to that angle, in left to right, but also tilting things down a little bit, or not so much. There are some shows where they're essentially just a vertical sheet if the audience is kind of far enough away. But when things are closer, it is nice to angle things down just so you don't get that twisted, warped perspective.
What's the typical like elevation that the show is centered at?
Elevation wise, like we do typically kind of go up to that 400 feet ceiling.
Right.
as high as a skyscraper.
Yeah, there you go. It's always we always think of fun ways to.
Yeah, because you got to visualize it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, to go back to your question about viewing, it's often like if you're too close, it's kind of like being the front row at a movie theater where you're just like,
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, the neck breaking row.
Yeah. So,
all right, Finn, you got a question while I compile my thoughts?
Okay. Yeah. So, because we were talking about this before we went on about security and stuff, and because there was a show in the interior this summer that got canceled, I think on Canada Day, because someone rode through it on an e-scooter. Yeah. So I'm guessing that they probably damaged some equipment there. So like, are you factoring like a scenario like this in? Like, obviously it's kind of an unforeseen thing, but like, I guess the question is like, you show up, that show was 400 aircraft. How many aircraft are you actually bringing to the gig?
Yeah.
Usually not enough to have somebody ride a scooter through the fleet and
hit them
and recover.
I think so. Maybe.
Oh, right. Yeah, we did it. We talked about this.
Yeah, we were talking about this. It was unclear given the reporting, but like, what? Yeah, I'm just asking about like the contingency that you're working with here.
Yeah, it's tough to plan for someone, getting through the barriers and the security and driving a scooter through the equipment.
Yeah.
But we do our best.
Do you have like, is there redundancy? Like, is there a minimum number and like a maximum number? Is it like, say, because one thing I noticed when we were setting up, like, I don't remember if you guys had like not all of them were lit the same, right? Like the status lights wouldn't always be 100%, and if that's like GPS or file or battery or what the light means, but it seemed like, when the show actually started, maybe 3 stayed on the ground because they just didn't have enough or weren't ready or some reason, right?
Yeah.
Is there like the show falls apart at a certain percentage of drones or like?
Yeah, there's sort of like our designer does a lot to kind of inform us, the minimum number where things are going to start to fall apart and look like mush in the sky.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. Could you touch on that at all?
I guess it's kind of like dead pixels, right? Like on a screen or something. It's like at some point, it's fine. It's okay. Yeah, there's one that's out, but I get what they were trying to do.
Yeah, a couple here and there can be fine, and some shows will be more forgiving than others. A show with a lot of text, and if that text is sort of just like a single line of drones, then a few pixels missing from that screw things up pretty quickly.
An L might turn into an I or something really tragic.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's like say a sheet, like a flag or something like that, having a couple of pixels, while not ideal, is still going to get the message across.
As long as they're not states or something on the flag.
Yeah, exactly. Just pointing out the wrong thing. As far as on the ground contingencies, we do typically have some extra units with us. Yeah. Just hopefully not because somebody's going to cruise through with a e-scooter or anything like that, but just in case, day of that one or two or some of them are having some GPS issues or another, unforeseen thing. So we can still fly a show with hopefully no missing dots.
So I know one challenge, like when you get a big event like Canada Day or New Year's Eve, you're probably going to have to pick and choose like the place you want to be or scale, right? Like how do you deal with that? What's the best way to?
Yeah, that is a good question. It's something that we're still working on because we want to do, we just want to do, good shows and be as entertaining as possible. And there is a little bit of a case of being spread, or you could be spread thin on Canada Day. Yeah. There's some companies that just they'll do like 100 drone shows in as many places. Yeah. Yeah. I personally think, or we personally think that less than, I think 150 is kind of the minimum to put on a good enough show.
Yeah.
200 is like rock solid, and then anything beyond that is just gravy. So,
well, Cam's got what are the rules on the slide here? So we should probably talk about that and we can come back to it. But what is the Canadian aviation regulations about drones?
Yeah, so we're gonna blaze through this because this is the boring part.
Little dry.
So for a drone light show, because you're operating with more than 5 aircraft per control station, it's an SFOC required. And you need an advanced certificate for most of your shows, because if it's within controlled airspace or within 3 nautical miles of a certified aerodrome, it is considered a high-risk SFOC. This was a new classification that was brought in this year, the high-risk SFOC.
Yeah, back in July, I think it was.
Back in July, they differentiated low risk and high risk. So we're just assuming that for all of these, this is considered a high-risk SFOC. Like even in Chilliwack, it's Class G, but you're near the aerodrome there, so
and the people is the biggest.
And the people is the biggest thing. So one of the things that is interesting is, and maybe you can talk about this, is the buffer from bystanders. So you mentioned like if you're up 200 feet, you have to be 200 feet away from bystanders. Like is it that 1-to-1? Like if you then went up to 400 feet, it would be 400 feet from bystanders. Is it just a straight 1-to-1 for that?
So it is a 1-to-1 with an additional setback depending on some experience factors. I guess you would kind of call it. That was one of the changes that Transport Canada has kind of implemented. With there being a framework to get down to a lower setback distance from an audience to be able to be a bit closer. Just physics doesn't allow for a drone to typically, if it fell out of the sky,
unless it was sentient.
Yeah, it's not gonna fall. It's not gonna travel a 1-to-1 distance away. So that setback is a bit excessive. Initially, when we were starting, we were dealing with that 1-to-1 plus 100.
Like 400 equaled 500, I think was the initial.
Yeah,
box.
Exactly. And now I think Transport Canada has actually added a plus 200 category as well when you're starting out, which is pretty tricky to deal with in any urban area.
Yeah,
really. But
600 feet for a 400-foot show.
Yeah. It's pretty tough. But we are dealing with that 1-to-1 these days.
Yeah,
which is still challenging.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, flying over the water helps. Because flying like in the middle of a city is to try and get people back that far is incredibly challenging.
Yeah, you need really like impenetrable physical barriers because someone always jumps a fence.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So if somebody gets close and you say, "Hey, can you get back?" They're never getting far enough back. No. They think they're a mile away, but it needs to be 2 miles, or it's never quite enough.
How many of your shows involve alcohol or some sort of party event atmosphere of some sort, right? So your crowd isn't exactly going to be compliant and boring. So the SFOC process, the steps to get to that stage, right? We mentioned the advanced pilot certificate. You guys had to get your license or your certificate, do the flight review, then start the SFOC process. We mentioned that 30 business day kind of processing time from start to finish, like from conception to execution to like pushing the button go on your first show. Like, what do you think the time frame was for that?
Oh wow. Just to get everything in order and then make the sale and actually get going. It was probably at least a year.
Wow. Yeah.
From the time that we, got the pilot licenses, applied for or started getting ready for the SFOC and purchased the drones, and then start approaching potential clients. Yeah. It was probably about that, maybe a little less.
Yeah, a little less, I think, but probably pushing a year by the time that first show actually came around.
Yeah, it is pretty close to a year, I think.
And this was like full time, or were you kind of like, because now you've mentioned you guys are full time doing this? Like,
yeah, we. I would say that in the beginning stages, it was probably closer to 50-50, maybe 60-40.
Yeah.
But since then it's just become our everyday thing.
Nice. There's a lot more waiting around it.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wait for Ian to reply to emails.
Yeah. Always so quick.
Nope.
So what you're saying is this is not something that you could just do in a weekend. Get this
side hustle.
Get this going as like a side hustle. It requires some.
If you can figure it out, hey, we would love to hear it.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. So like there's a non-zero barrier to entry to getting into this business for sure.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, can you speak to what you think your biggest like type of competitor is? Not like any name calling, right? Just like what's your threat to this?
Are like a competitor as in like another company?
No, not even another company. Just like what I always say, like in the drone training business, right? One of our biggest competitors is knowledge for free, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
You're seeing YouTube is an unlimited supply of knowledge.
Yeah.
But there's a cost to that, right? You got to watch 100 hours of YouTube video to probably get the same knowledge as a start to finish, like a coastal course that's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, in being based in Vancouver, definitely one of the biggest ones is space. Land. Like every square inch is accounted for in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So just being able to use the space, secure the space, is an incredible challenge. And then, like we said before, hiring the police to secure it is pretty intense. But you can also get started in smaller towns and they're a little more lenient. But that would definitely be one of them. Like if I had it my way, we'd be doing shows, every other night or every night or something along those lines. But there's just so much that goes into just like right now we're in talks with people for Canada Day, planning that out, and
so it's a bit of lead time.
A little bit of lead time. So.
But I guess in the event space, right? Like our other group of companies here, we do events, and like it's 12 months or more for like think about a wedding. A wedding's a year or more for sure, right? So these are slightly bigger than weddings.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
What's the smallest show that you've done, and then like what's the biggest show you've done, like that makes it worth getting out the door for, I guess, the smallest show size? You said 150 was kind of like the minimum drone size, but like I've heard of people doing like quinceañeras and like small weddings and stuff, like rooftop stuff, and it's like, how do you do that, right? Like
there's I would say to fly a nice design, that 150 number is one we like. But as far as flights that we've flown to provide some entertainment, we've done some with as few as was it 10 or 20 as sort of just a contingency, just something to show the crowd in a case where we weren't able to fly a full design for a few reasons, but it was feasible and safe for us to do something small and just kind of showing off some geometry in the sky and things like that.
With 10, if there's two of you, then that's not even an SFOC,
right?
Because you're just controlling 5 each.
Exactly.
We actually did. I can't remember at what stage we were at, but we were doing 5 drone shows.
Just to get the system up and running.
And we had it synced to music, and we had a little stereo.
Always boxes and triangles. 2 triangles. Nope, you could do 1.5 triangles.
And seeing those five take off at one time, I remember us all talking. We were all talking at the time, just like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah. On our way home, we were just buzzing.
Any automated flight stuff is so cool.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, is it gonna work or not?
Yeah. And then watching that synchronization was just like, oh, okay, we got something cool here.
I must say the music really, really just ties it all in.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. So, let's talk about the hardware. You guys, like, what size of drone? What kind of drone are you using? Like, obviously, it's bigger than 250 grams because you need an SFOC to do it.
Yeah.
What kind of led you down that path to what you got, and are you happy with it? Like, what's your best and worst about it, I guess?
Yeah, it's a funny thing with the drone that we're using is just over 250 grams. So if it was,
can I see it? You got one here? Or? Show and tell time.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just over 250 grams. If it was 20 grams lighter, then we wouldn't have the regulations that we do.
Yeah, it'd be a little simpler.
But
I recognize these propellers.
yeah,
I think they do. They even say DJI on them.
yeah, straight from.
Yeah.
Good props.
Yeah. Why mess with a working formula?
Yeah.
So it's like definitely a little heavier. And then so you've registered these. Is that for the entire system, or is that the one each, or how does that work?
We made the mistake of registering every single one individually on the Transport Canada website.
On the drone management portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of us got to spend a couple of days.
Thousands of clicks.
How many credit card swipes was that?
Yeah, getting that credit card, seeing that credit card statement was pretty funny. It was just like, what? Well, how many pages? Oh, wow. Okay.
All these $5 charges.
$5, yeah.
Oh my God.
The accounting office must have just been losing their mind at the transport as
Credit
well.
card office is probably losing their mind. If I do too many small purchases in a row, my credit card gets frozen.
This guy's buying Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, I was most surprised by that. It was raising red flags there. But but no, these days they're kind of linked to our SFOC number.
So it's like a system at this point.
Yeah.
Are these like? It kind of looks like they're a little bit 3D printed, or are they? How are they made?
Yeah, they are actually 3D printed.
Oh, cool.
They are designed in Italy, and I think they're made mostly in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, potentially in China as well. But it's super interesting. We love these drones. They're like the performance of them are just as good as any other, but they're a third the size. So
is there a bunch of different options on the market? Like, is this a kind of a commodity now, or
there's a ton of options? Yeah, Uvify is definitely the biggest in North America.
Yeah. Are you guys good with saying the name of what these are, or does it matter? Or?
Yeah, these are made by Flyfire.
Okay.
And the model is Kaiken. So,
Kaiken. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, like they have the same name as the parachute company, Flyfire, right? So that's really confusing.
That was very confusing for us early on. Actually.
Yeah, well, for me too. I'm like, you guys want to have 100 parachutes?
Yeah.
So
when we went to go register them, we're like, oh, they're already there.
Yeah.
They have parachutes?
We haven't heard anything about this.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so they all have their own GPS. They all have like it is a drone in its own sense, like, but there's no controller, right?
There isn't. They can be bound to
an
controller.
RC. Okay.
Yeah, you can use them with RC if you want to. So we can do that for testing individual things. But typically it's not a main aspect of things for us.
And a one drone show.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the light emitter, right, on the bottom here. So it's a big ass RGB LED, like one bulb, I guess, in there. Or?
Yeah. So there's these ones are.
Or is it an array of?
I think it's it is an array, a couple in there, and then with the diffuser.
Okay.
Panel over top there,
which is super cool because that's also 3D printed. It looks like, and it's just transparent 3D print, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, do they give you the shapefile, like if you needed to reprint parts for yourselves?
No, unfortunately.
That would be.
Fortunately not.
Yeah.
We've talked to them about that.
That's a hard no for them.
Yeah.
Still trying to talk.
Yeah.
And then, so like, how do you manage the batteries? So you've got, let's say, 400 or 500 in your fleet right now, right? Mm-hmm. Or more. How do you transport them, and how do you deal with the batteries? Like, do you have to get a dangerous goods like placard for your truck, or is that
not quite? But yeah, there are some considerations when we're traveling. You know, if shipping freight and things like that with batteries, they do need to be tagged and labeled as up to spec.
Can you fly with these like in an airplane, or?
It depends on the airplane. Depends on the airline and their rules on.
They get
batteries,
a little nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
What is there like? Can I pull this out? Is that do you just squeeze this?
Yeah, it's just the tabs there.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, wait a minute. I recognize this. This is a Mavic Mini battery.
No.
No?
No.
It's so close.
It's close, but no, it's
yeah, like it's a different housing, but
but yeah,
virtually.
a couple cells.
Like even I didn't turn it on full, did I?
No.
That's just checking the battery status.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like it's got its own little battery management system.
Yeah.
Status lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a few. You had asked what led us to settling on on the Kaiken, and there was a few aspects, but the battery management system was definitely one.
You mean you don't like having 500 bare naked lipos in your truck?
Yeah, exactly. Doing load balancing and stuff with hundreds of batteries and hundreds of cells is not my idea of a good time.
So are these ones just like normal DJI? There's just like a charging block or brick, and you just plug them on, like put them on a dock, and
Yeah. We have they're like multi-chargers, so luckily it's not a one-to-one process on charging them, but yeah, it's just a very standard slide the battery in.
Yeah, I think I got some footage of that. That was super cool actually. There's you got like a rack and stack, you pull the batteries out.
Yeah.
So battery life, like how long, what's your longest you can do a show?
In a laboratory, 25 minutes.
Oh, wow. Is that like including like the hours of waiting? Because that was one thing I really was surprised by. Like, so the Canada Day show, it was supposed to, I think it took off at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You basically had every drone on by like 7 o'clock, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they're sitting there in like some sort of dormant state.
Yeah. We can sleep them. We can turn them on just to upload all the paths ahead of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do drain a little bit of battery beforehand. But
do you start getting nervous like after 4 hours of waiting, or is it like, okay, that's like a really big chunk of the battery now gone? Or
yeah, we would sleep them if they were going to be sitting for that long. Typically, we'll upload the paths and make sure everything's calibrated, and then we'll sleep them up until like 20-30 minutes before the show.
Okay. And is it like if it starts, so they're warm or whatever at 30 minutes, are they like the minis where like, I guess because they don't have video transmitters or anything, they don't get super hot and like start shutting themselves down, right? Because like a Neo and even this guy now doesn't have a cooling fan; it's all passive. The Avata 2, it will shut itself down if it sits for too long.
Yeah,
right. So
with these the biggest heat source is the LED. When those are on, and when they're just sitting idle on the ground, they're just running at a very low percentage of their total power, so it's not enough to really heat them up, but it is enough to keep them warm if it is a little cold out, so that can kind of work for us.
Yeah, it keeps the batteries happy too, right?
Yeah.
Do these have ingress protection ratings, or rain is no-go?
Rain is a no-go.
Okay.
They do have some, they are ingress tested. Rain is typically not something we like
kind of call the show for it anyway. And then like, what about wind?
Wind is actually shockingly like they can handle a pretty good amount of wind. Like like 35 kilometers an hour.
Oh wow, so like 8 to 10 meters a second. Yeah, that's like Mavic territory.
Yeah,
pretty comparable. Yeah, gusts are kind of the biggest concern.
The gusts
as usual.
To stable wind,
because it's kind of hard to see from the ground. Like you don't know how close these are. So like in a normal show, like one drone to the next drone, are we talking like 3 feet, 4 feet, 10 feet
from each other?
Yeah.
We stick to 2 to 3 meters away from each drone. So yeah, each drone is
6 to 10 feet.
Yeah, 2 to 3 meters away from any other drone at any given point.
So if there's a gust, they should not run into each other.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's literally some padding built in to things.
Yeah. So
we talked a little bit about planning on the timeline side, but like, so you mentioned you have an animator. What is the process like? The Chilliwack show, we had the Chilliwack Corn logo. We had a bunch of custom designs in the logo. How does that go from being a 2D logo to floating in the sky over the crowd? Like, is there specific custom tools, or is it generic, or what software do you have to do for that with?
That would be a question best suited for our designer Nick, but who's not here unfortunately. But he utilizes some pretty industry standard design tools, along with sort of some just converters, I guess, to get things into a path file for each drone. The design aspect itself, he's just working in 3D programs, 3D design programs.
Yeah, like Blender, I think, which is open source, right?
Yeah,
MS Paint.
There you go.
That's where it all begins.
Yeah. This is my sketch. Can you
Yeah.
make this fly?
There's
exactly.
a lot of ideas that have definitely come out of MS Paint. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no. Shout out to Nick because he's our 3D animator. He's been with us since the beginning, since we've flown our first show, and he's just. Yeah, he's a magician.
Well, you guys have the coolest email signature I've seen in a while. The animated logo and the email. So I'm like, the bandwidth was worth that.
Yeah, he is gonna love to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. That was like a year or two ago. I saw that. I'm like, wow, these guys are definitely on their A game here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you noticed the bandwidth thing too. That was a consideration.
This email costs us 3 cents more. So you talked about you're already in talks with like Canada Day shows. We've talked about the fact that like this isn't just like huge crowd events, like small corporate events and potentially private events and stuff as well. What is your what has been the best source of like new work for you guys? Has it been networking, referral, lead gen, cold calls? Like does a cold call work for something like this? Do people like, no, we're good with fireworks. We're good. We want loud explosions. Like,
yeah, cold calling is tough, I must say. Definitely the best source of just getting more jobs is just flying shows. Flying a show and talking to people after ideas start buzzing.
They see it.
Yeah, they see it. They get it. They're like, okay, yeah.
Does the YouTube work?
YouTube is like social media and YouTube.
Yeah. You guys have a huge, like, honestly, like your social media when you do a show, it blows up. Especially because I'm already in the drone space. Like, I see everything. Right.
The algorithm's really working for you.
But like, I was chirping you guys because like you had a huge show downtown. I'm like, man, like, why don't you guys just let me know? Like, I would have been there.
Yeah, I remember you messaging us, and we all just did a face palm. How did we forget?
Yeah, there's just so much that goes into it.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, can get tunnel vision.
But it's, so basically, you're flying your brand is your best banner. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I see that in a lot of businesses, like even in any other drone business. I've talked about it before, like wrapping your car, right? Showing up on the job site with your logo, right? Like me being at your guys' job site, people start asking me all about the drone show because the car's got the wrap on it. It's like, it's not me, especially if this goes poorly.
I was never here.
Yeah, but it gets you access for one thing. Like I literally drove right up to the show and no one bat an eye.
Yeah.
Right. And it starts that conversation because people immediately know who's responsible for it. So
yeah, exactly. It feels like most shows are all pretty much all shows after the fact there's one or more people who come up and like, hey, we need to talk kind of thing, who are interested in something. And
it's not just the give me your card. It's like, well, you know what we do now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And then also just for prospective clients as well, like when they're thinking about things and maybe they're a bit on the fence, like, okay, hey, come check out this show. And that's definitely the strongest selling point for sure.
Was that probably the hardest when you started from scratch? Like the first like, trust me, it's gonna work. Yeah. It's gonna be good. Yeah. And it's 5 drones.
Yeah, exactly. No, that is absolutely the case. It is very hard to describe what the experience is like of seeing a drone show. So just flying as many shows as possible and recording it and cutting it up and doing a little sizzle reel is the best way, the best approach for marketing, in my opinion. Yeah, just keep flying shows and
Have you done any, or would you be open to doing any hybrid shows of like combining Pyro with drones?
Yeah,
cool. Absolutely.
Yeah, in the right place, the right time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because to me, it's always like, it's not so much the fireworks, but the concussion grenades, the mortars, right?
Yeah.
The explosions.
Yeah. There are definitely some aspects of fireworks that are tough to recreate.
A lot of subwoofers.
Yeah, a lot of subwoofers.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
We were just talking with the fireworks company that does Celebration of Light, and talking to the guy who designs a lot of their shows. And he's like, let's combine this, because like a lot of people have seen the robot with the lasers shooting down and the fireworks go off. Possibly one of the coolest things ever.
Where was that, Vegas or
it was in the States for sure. Was it in Vegas?
Vegas or somewhere in California, I don't quite recall. I think it was for a Pyro convention.
So there's a lot of switched on people there. That's like this is kind of like the insider's party. Man, we got to talk a little bit about the sustainability and the benefits of this, right? I know we're running a little long. Hopefully you guys are good. Like, I think this is really good stuff, but former dog owner, right? There is a lot of people, like pet owners, that fireworks are a challenge, right? Especially because of the accessibility of fireworks on like Halloween or gate night, they call it, or whatever, like where it's, and we're coming into that season right now where from like 8 o'clock onward, you'll get mortars going off all night
in your backyard.
Or a block away. And so you get nervous pets that are, so like that's definitely one thing, right? That I've seen a lot of cities start to really ban fireworks, mainly because of the noise, not to mention the house fires and everything else. But
my dog is the biggest wimp in the world, and
he's probably a big lab or something like that, right?
She's a little border collie.
Okay,
and
still,
just like anything that goes off. Like she's scared of her own farts. No joke.
That is true. That is true.
No joke. So awesome. You can only imagine when fireworks go off. It is quite something. That's why I think fireworks and a drone show in the right setting, absolutely.
And also in an urban environment, the smell of the sulfur, the plastic that gets, the amount of plastic waste that ends up, like, I live in a city. Our fireworks shows, the city's on a river. They put the barge in the river. That means all the plastic waste is falling into the river. And apparently, like, it messes with birds too.
I bet.
So this is like and honestly, like, there was some drone light shows in Quebec this year, and the municipalities were saying, we're moving to drone light shows because of and they specifically cited the environmental impact. They didn't care about the
noise,
the noise, or they didn't like necessarily think that drones were cool. It was like, we want to minimize the environmental impact of this celebration. So
that's true. I didn't think of all the paper and
all the paper and all the garbage. It ends up being $20,000 worth of plastic waste at the end of a fireworks show. So
we were just speaking on that sort of recently, actually, about the cleanup after some fireworks shows and the amount of efforts that go into just cleaning like a field where they were launching stuff from, and thinking to when they do those barge launches in the water, and that stuff's not getting cleaned up.
So like, you guys were
not fun.
Done and gone from Chilliwack in 45 minutes tops, and that was mostly just because you're being careful to not break props and stuff, like shoving them into a box. Sustainability wise, also, like, obviously these things are reusable. Is there a lifespan to how many shows you could get out of a drone? Or
there certainly is, but aside from replacing batteries, we haven't seen, they seem to last.
It's the battery management is kind of the biggest,
the top one,
the biggest thing for
cycle
long term
count and
exactly. But otherwise,
at your show didn't you have like 4 different generations of hardware? Like, there was the company has iterated on, because there was like white ones and black ones, and they all work the same, but like I'm thinking again to the sustainability, like you started an investment with X amount of drones, and then you can grow your fleet, but you're not dumping your initial investment and throwing them on the shelf somewhere.
No, thankfully for sure, we've been able to increase rather than start from scratch. Each time.
Yeah.
And with some compatibility between. So
So it comes back to, so I guess the economics of this. It's not, I can imagine, not an insignificant investment initially to get 400 or 500 drones. Like, what's the ballpark cost of these things per unit? Like over 1,000 or
per unit? Yeah, it's in the thousands.
Yeah, per drone. Like,
per drone.
Wow. Yeah. So you can buy a house. No, you can't. You can't even buy a house in BC right now.
Somewhere.
Or you can start a drone company.
Yeah.
What is, like, comparing to the fireworks show? Like, I know nothing about the economics of fireworks, but like being completely off the street and off the head, I'd imagine they're in the tens of thousands to do a show, if not hundreds, depending on the size of the show. But is it comparable? Are you able to offer like a cost savings to the customer, or is it more about all the other benefits that it brings?
Yeah, it seems like, in my opinion, from what I've seen, they're pretty comparable.
Yeah.
It does seem like drone shows can be more expensive and fireworks can be more expensive depending on what you're doing.
Right.
But they are pretty close. So it is becoming more of an obvious choice, I guess you could say.
Yeah. It sounds like there's similar variable costs. Like you mentioned insurance and policing and that. So there's a lot more human cost involved. Maybe you're not literally setting black powder on fire and burning that money, but there still is a cost there.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, man. So we talked about biggest and small. Did we talk about your biggest show? It was 400?
Our biggest show, I mean, audience wise, our biggest show we did was in False Creek.
Yeah.
For the Dragon Boat Festival.
So pretty much all of downtown Vancouver.
And I didn't know how many people were going to show up, but it ended up being about 10x, maybe 20x what I thought the audience would be. I don't want to say numbers, but it was...
What do you think about how many people live in False Creek?
It was a ton of people.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people. Yeah, we were getting updates after the show about how large the lineup for transit and things like that were in the nearby stations, and it was in the tens of thousands.
So that show, was that your show, or was it like, how did that happen? Is it like, we're going to do a drone show, or is it someone else that's like, hey, we want to have a splash? Not literally.
Yeah. No, Dragon Boat, the Dragon Boat Festival approached us and said, we want to do a drone show this year.
Wow.
So, it was a great success.
You doing it again this or next?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it was a great success for sure.
It was.
They asked you back.
Yeah.
What, I guess, kind of look into the future here. What's your number one dream show?
That's a great question.
That is a good question.
Well, it's got to be Super Bowl, right? This started with the Super Bowl, and it will end with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Full circle.
Yeah.
Our one of the guys on our team actually did the Super Bowl.
Wow.
He's one of the pioneers. Jeff was one of the pioneers in the industry. Dream show that we would do. I mean, for me, it's about I want to do a show that's like 1,000 or more drones in a show.
Go for a record.
Yeah. That could be coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Never know.
That wasn't state. I have no idea. So
big shows, dream shows. I think there's a few like musical acts I'd say that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Some favorites of ours, just personal favorites that it's like, oh, that'd be really cool to be involved and be able to put
shout anyone out that in our audience of dozens.
Yeah.
maybe they watch, maybe they're into this.
Any members of the band Coldplay in the audience today?
Please.
Exactly.
Odessa, I'm a big fan of Odessa, and I went to their show last time they were here at the P&E, and it was incredible. They every detail of their show is looked after, and I think they actually have done some drone shows.
Oh, cool.
In their at some of their concerts, but their music just pairs so well with what can be done. So
yeah, like timing and shapes and lights and color.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial, so I through high school into college listening to Deadmau5, right? Like, and his shows are so technical.
Yeah.
Right. Like you'd think about like that's absolutely another one. You could take his cube and just have the entire cube take off and fly away. Right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you could pin all the drones to it, but no one would know.
Yeah.
So
I could talk about this for hours. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that Deadmau5 would be another one for sure.
Yeah. So I guess like it kind of goes to growth. Like, is there a ceiling to this? Do you see
400 feet?
I walked into that one. Usually it's him. He gets fired like every other show. The bread one, icing.
Cake,
Icing, yeah.
I got him the other day, and it ruined his entire day.
Yeah. Well, it's the point where I spent 2 hours making a reel about it. Yeah, like
Really took over.
biggest, like we talked, like there's challenges in technology and everything else. Like right now in like the consumer drone space, these guys like they're now suing the government because they've been put on this list, and it's creating this barrier for import and challenges for getting across the border with DJI equipment in the States.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see? I don't think this is an Italian design, Chinese manufacturer, or
Chinese, or sorry, Italian manufactured.
so
well.
in Italy
Yeah.
as well. Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah,
made in
like because
Italy.
like these are made in Malaysia, I think, or Shenzhen. Sorry, China.
Some parts are made in Shenzhen. Some parts are made in Malaysia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're
Allegedly.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Wow. But we're not a political show. we're being forced to walk into this because of what's happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But like, do you see something like that? Like, is there going to be a light switch at some point, or is there a wall that you hit that like, no, that's it for this? Because like let's flip it around and look at fireworks. Do you see fireworks shows lasting another 10 years? Do you think that there's, like you mentioned, time and a place, and you don't want to like bite the hand or not look back at where you're coming from, I guess. But at the same time, like we do see a bit of a sunset happening here.
Yeah, I think that fireworks have arced, but I do think that they will be around in 10 years or even 20 years.
We're at 200 years, I think, for fireworks.
I was gonna say, they seem to be standing the test of time.
We're
pretty okay.
we're past the half-life of fireworks, but
It's kind of like uranium. It's going to be around for a while.
yeah, absolutely.
But sorry, yeah.
No,
But yeah, we are seeing more and more places, like you touched on earlier, that are saying like, hey, we're done with fireworks for whatever reason, whether it's environmental or pets or what have you. But so that's a positive cue for us, at least.
If there is a major accident involving a drone light show, could you foresee changes to the? I mean, obviously, anytime there's a major accident in aviation, there are changes to the industry. But so far, there has not been, and knock on wood, there has not been a major accident involving any drone light show company in Canada.
Yeah, when an accident would be like, we talk about it being blood or oil spilled, right? Like impact with a traditional aircraft or people.
Yeah, like if there was either a collision with an aircraft or someone was seriously injured or killed, that would be obviously the worst thing that could happen in one of these drone light shows. Would you would you foresee a major change to regulations or the industry if something like that were to occur?
for sure, yeah. And I don't want to tempt fate, but I don't think that at least a drone this size of ours could. Well, it could, but
Oh, you're talking about like impact energy and
yeah,
threat. It's
well,
light.
this drone is about the size of a duck, and a duck will not necessarily bring down a small plane.
yeah.
You sound like you might be an expert on that.
You know what? We're gonna we're gonna talk about this on a future Coastal Drone Weekly Live. we are going to talk about that.
Finn had a bird strike last night.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did. And we've done an episode on what to do in the event of a bird strike. So in a couple weeks, I'm going to report back
Did you say last night?
Yeah.
Last night, yeah.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, in a 172.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy. Jeez. Whoa. Okay.
So everything was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It
That's
missed
still-
the wind. It missed the windscreen by 3 feet, so
yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, didn't miss the plane.
did miss the plane.
Wow. Yeah.
We'll add some excitement to your evening.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It added 2 hours of driving to my evening.
I was gonna say the excitement was you got to take my car.
No cruise control.
Yeah, I didn't even tell him about FSD. So
I wouldn't have used it.
no, probably not. Yeah, so I guess like ending it out, like, what are you guys most excited about this? Like, what? Like, you've been in this 2 years, right? Where do you see yourselves 5 years? Like, what's the like? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, China just did. They just broke the record with 10,000 drones in a drone light show. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
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 My God.
And
it's
whoever's watching is going to see it in the next 30 seconds, I'm sure. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like you're getting to the point where you can do a screen in the sky, and
yeah, that's true.
it's
Like flying video.
yeah. So, and that video can be 3D.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, a big 4K cube in the sky.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. So that seems to be the direction. Like, you know, the shows will fly longer, drones will get even faster.
Yeah.
They might get a little brighter. I think the lights are pretty bright as it is.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about like what is there a lumens number that these things pump out, or
It's a lot.
There is, yeah. I don't quite remember the spec offhand, unfortunately, but
well, you buy like an $8 flashlight from Canadian Tire, it's 40,000 lumens, right?
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
got to be better than that.
yeah, LEDs getting getting where they're at these days. It's it's definitely not nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at the point where, like, I mean, I don't know if this is impressive or not, but I guess it's not. But like,
We'll decide.
like you absolutely cannot see the drone itself.
Yeah.
During the show.
Yeah.
At any point.
Yeah.
Unless the sun is fully up. So
That's the point, right? It's the
Yeah.
pixel. It's TVs. The pixels get smaller and smaller. So
Mhm.
the drone, it's just a flying LED.
yeah, there wouldn't be as much magic if you could also see the drone during the show.
Well, and that's actually a really good point, and to show like where we've come. We'll probably find some B-roll, but like I remember some of the first drone light shows I saw were like matrice-sized drones, which are
Yeah.
the size of the table
Yeah.
with the same LED on it. And it's like 15 feet apart.
Yeah.
And it's like
Just
all you hear is them screaming the entire time. So
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to you know, the next 5 to 10 years. There's going to be more drones. Their shows are going to be happening more. You know, regulations will come down a little bit at least, and the animations will get even better. So
smoother and faster. And
yeah.
Yeah, so you can find us at pixelskyanimation.com or on socials under the same Pixel Sky Animations.
Mm-hmm. That's where we'll be.
awesome.
You can find us there.
Yeah.
on,
Appreciate
You got a custom hashtag?
on the waves. Do we?
Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much.
I don't know if that works or not yet.
Yeah. I was just having that conversation the other day. I'm like, does this still do anything?
Yeah.
Maybe send us your ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know what works.
All right. Well, Travis, Dan, you guys, this has been awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Well, if you guys have any more questions, definitely hit them up in the comments. What do you think about drone light shows? Are they taking over the world, one AI and or not AI powered flying robot at a time? If you have any thoughts about that, hit it up in the comments. If you found this entertaining, like I said, guys, thank you very much for joining us. I thought this was awesome, really interesting. Hit that like and subscribe button, hit that bell, right? We really appreciate the channel growth. It's really exploded over the last couple of weeks here, so thank you for that. And it matters a lot to us, your engagement. We really want to hear what you think more than anything. Be sure to tune in again next week. And
We got another guest next week, right?
that's right. Next week, we're interviewing Matt from Blackhawk Aeronautical Solutions. Matt specializes in doing live production using DJI drones, so using off-the-shelf consumer stuff. He has filmed live for the NHL, for the FIA downhill ski. He's done quite a bit of live production in northern Alberta.
CTV News.
CTV News, yeah. He's may or may not be heading our way as well soon. So, but yeah, he uses drones that you can buy at Best Buy to do this. So we're going to interview him and see how he does it, see what it takes to do that. So be sure to tune in next week for that one. Thanks a lot, everyone, for watching us. We'll see you again.
Thanks.
Bye.